really keen to know. So my question for you.
What's the purpose of cover letter?
So I understand the purpose of cover letter.
Okay.
What's the future of a cover letter?
Oh, what's the future of a cover
Given
letter?
our suite of like resources now that to me kind of check the boxes of a cover letter, like InDesign and that kind of stuff. What's the future of a cover letter?
That is a crazy question. And I'm going to say that I truly don't know the answer to that question. I can say that I do cover letters a little bit differently.
Okay.
That don't look ChatGPT. And I'm not a marketer. I'm going to own that. But I've picked up a few tricks. And I think that every time you want to make a relationship with somebody, you need to draw them in with a bit of a hook.
Okay.
And you need to kind of prove that you and I are similar, right? Typically, we like to connect with people that are similar to each other.
Right.
So in the first paragraph of a cover letter, I get the person to start off with something interesting that they have found out about the company they're interested in.
Okay.
And then to make a case as to why these two people need to be connected with each other, right? And then the very last line of the paragraph, it's usually about 3 sentences, you can get that done, is then kind of making the case for the reason to apply for the position.
Okay.
So it's kind of a different approach.
I love it though.
Yeah, I really like it. It's
about as real as it gets.
Yeah, and it's something that I've done and used. Actually, it landed me one of my jobs actually in the call center industry, and it worked. So I used it. I've used it for 30 years. And students really like it because it's easy to follow. It's like, here's the formula, right?
Yeah.
And play it out, and you can draw attention that way, and then you become very different from, dear sir or madam, I'm applying for the position of.
Yeah,
it's like no guff.
Pull all those like punch words out of their application. Yeah. You know what I like about that is that it's just the right amount of risk taking.
It's the right amount of risk taking
because you're going, here's me.
Yeah,
and I love that because the one thing that's always been important to me is like I don't ever want to pretend to be someone. I don't want to get a job because I could probably act. For 6 months.
Probably.
Maybe a year.
Yeah.
Maybe all the way through probation.
But
what is this going to do to my life? Like that's just a death spiral. So I love that that's like, here I am.
Yeah.
Here's why I think, like, by the way, I've this piece about your company, I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
And the position, and I could fit in here with.
Yeah. I kind of call it my party principle. It's like, have you ever been to a party, you've sat around, chatted with somebody, and you spend the whole evening asking questions about the other person? Right? Because that person is so interested in you, right?
Yeah.
You spend all that time, they've spent all that time asking you questions about them. You walk away feeling pretty darn good about the other person, even though you may know nothing about them, right? So it's kind of like, like my party principle. I
would use that party principle for like 30 years until I was diagnosed with ADHD because I knew that asking people questions was the right thing to do. Okay. I wouldn't really retain any of the information, but I would just keep asking questions.
Yeah.
So but no, to that, I know nothing makes you feel better and more important than somebody really
taking an interest.
Yeah, and really listening to you. And
it becomes a starting part for a good conversation.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great conversation. Thank you for listening to this episode of Let's Talk Careers. If you liked this episode and want to hear more, follow us on Spotify and subscribe on YouTube. See you in the next one.